Okay, so let's talk about that idea, right? That really common one we all kind of carry around.
The formula for success and happiness.
Yeah, exactly. Work really hard, get the success, maybe the promotion, or the perfect body, hit some financial goal.
And then you finally get to be happy. That's the payoff.
Right. That's the one it feels like the way things are supposed to work.
And yet, based on some really fascinating research, in positive psychology and neuroscience, the stuff we're digging into today, it completely flips that script.
It basically argues that whole conventional formula, it's actually broken.
Totally broken. Instead, it gives us this counterintuitive truth, but one that's really backed by research.
Which is?
That happiness isn't the result of success. It's actually the fuel. Happiness comes first and drives better performance, drives achievement.
Ah, okay. So happiness is the precursor.
Exactly. That's the core idea in Shawn Achor's book, The Happiness Advantage, which is what we're focusing on in this deep dive. It really challenges those assumptions we have.
So our mission today is pretty straightforward then. We're going to dig into this book, pull out the key insight.
Yeah, give you a kind of shortcut to understanding how deliberately cultivating happiness isn't just, about feeling good.
It's about getting a real competitive edge.
Yeah.
In work, in life, everywhere.
We're going to look at the science, like why this reversed formula works, and explore the practical principles Achor lays out so you can actually harness that power.
Okay, let's dive right in. Principle number 1, which he calls the happiness advantage.
Right. And this is where he really takes apart that broken formula we just talked about.
The whole put your head down, work hard, hit the target, then be happy thing.
Exactly. And the big problem, as you pointed out earlier, is every time you hit one target, you get the promotion, you land the big client, whatever it is, the goalposts just shift, don't they?
Yeah, success just means a new, higher target. Yep. So happiness is always kind of pushed over the horizon, always just out of reach.
But what the research, really over the last decade or so, shows pretty definitively is that the cause and effect goes the other way.
So happiness and optimism aren't just the reward after success.
No, they actively fuel the performance and achievement before it happens. They give you that edge. That's the happiness advantage.
And you really see the fallout from chasing that old formula, everywhere.
Yeah, the book points out some pretty sobering stats.
Right, like that Harvard Crimson poll. It found something like, what was it, 4 out of 5 Harvard students?
4 out of 5, yeah, dealing with depression during the school year, and almost half said it was debilitating.
Wow. And these are students who, by any normal measure have already achieved so much just getting in there.
And it's not just Harvard. A 2010 survey showed job happiness was way down, the lowest it had been in over 2 decades.
And the bigger picture?
Even worse. Depression rates 10 times higher than in 1960, and the average age people first experience it has dropped dramatically, from late 20s down to mid-teens.
It really feels like the more we chase success, hoping for happiness, the unhappier we become.
And part of it, Achor argues, is just the sheer volume of negativity we absorb. The news, the focus on problems.
Like we're training our brains to scan only for the bad stuff.
Yeah, that constant focus on the negative ratio, the problems, the deficits, it kind of tricks our brain into thinking that's the whole picture, like that medical school syndrome idea.
Oh yeah, where students studying diseases start thinking they have all of them.
Exactly. What you focus on starts to feel like your reality.
So instead of just looking at what's average or wrong, Achor's approach is to study the positive outliers.
The people who are already way above the curve. To figure out how to lift the whole average up, not just fix the problem.
And there's a biological reason this works, right? It's not just mindset.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
When you experience positive emotions, happiness, joy, whatever, your brain gets flooded with dopamine and serotonin.
Okay, so it's actually a chemical thing happening.
Absolutely. And these chemicals, they aren't just about feeling good. They literally dial up the learning centers in your brain. Think of it like a performance enhancer for your brain.
So it boosts your mood and your cognitive function, like how you think.
Precisely. They help you organize information better, remember it longer, access it faster. You make more neural connections. It's a real, tangible, chemical advantage.
The studies he talks about are pretty amazing, like the one with the doctor.
Oh, the candy study.
Yeah, a small piece of candy, didn't even eat it, right?
Right, just the small positive prime. And it made them diagnose cases twice as fast and 2.5 times more creatively.
And less likely to get stuck on their first idea.
Yeah.
That anchoring effect.
Yeah, that tiny mood boost had a huge impact on their problem solving. And another study, watching positive films actually physiologically reversed the effects of stress.
So even small doses of positivity give you a serious competitive edge.
Exactly.
Right.
Which leads to the big question.
How do we actually do it? How do we cultivate this positivity? The book gives some practical ways.
Okay, first one. Meditation. Even just 5 minutes a day. The research shows it can actually grow the part of your brain linked to happiness, the left prefrontal cortex.
Wow. Okay, 5 minutes. Second.
Conscious acts of kindness. Deliberate ones. Sonja Lyubomirsky's research suggests 5 intentional acts a week can lower stress, boost mental health.
And the good feeling lasts for days, apparently. Like paying the toll for the car behind you.
Simple stuff like that, yeah.
Yeah.
Third, infuse positivity into your surroundings.
Wow.
Pictures of loved ones nearby. Or get this, just spending 20 minutes outside in good weather. Studies show it boosts your mood, your thinking, even your working memory. Smart bosses actually encourage this.
Makes sense.
Oh.
Okay, fourth is exercise. We kind of know this one, but
it's crucial. Beyond the endorphins, it boosts motivation, gives you a sense of mastery, tackles stress and anxiety. One study found it was as effective as antidepressants for some people.
That's powerful. And finally,
using your signature strengths. There's a free online survey, the VIA survey.
viasurvey.org, right?
That's the one. It tells you your top character strengths, maybe creativity or kindness, curiosity, bravery, whatever.
And the idea is to use them more.
Use one of your top strengths in a new way each day for just a week. Research showed doing that significantly boosted happiness and reduced depression for up to 6 months.
6 months from 1 week of focused effort? That's incredible.
Yeah, it's about actively engaging with what makes you feel energized and authentic.
Now, bringing this to work.
Yeah.
It often feels like it goes against the grain, doesn't it? Like traditional management often values overwork, not well-being.
Absolutely. A lot of workplaces kind of discourage positivity, unintentionally or not, but the data is clear. Look at the Lasada line.
What's that?
Research by Marshall Lasada found this specific ratio of positive to negative interactions needed for a team to succeed. You need at least 2.9, basically 3 positive interactions for every 1 negative one just to function.
Just to function.
Yeah. And for high-performing teams, it's closer to 6 to 1.
So a manager with a constantly critical tone isn't just being unpleasant. They're actively hurting the team's performance.
Exactly. That Yale study showed hearing negative words from a boss can actually handicap someone's ability before they even start the task. Positivity isn't soft stuff. It drives hard results.
Okay, that really sets the stage for the next principle then.
Yeah, it leads perfectly into principle, #2, the fulcrum and the lever.
This one sounds intriguing. It's about mindset.
It's all about the incredible power of your mindset, yeah. What Achor calls your mental construction of reality. The idea is how you see the world is your fulcrum, your fixed point.
And your mindset is the lever, the tool you use to influence that reality.
Exactly. Their mindset is the lever you use to move things, to affect your performance within that reality.
The book has some wild studies for this one, right?
Oh, definitely. Like Ellen Langer's experiment from 1979 with those 75-year-old men.
Right. They lived for a week in an environment set up exactly like 1959.
Meticulously recreated. And they were just told to act as if it really was 1959.
And the results were physical changes.
Real, objective physiological changes. Better eyesight, hearing, memory. Even things like physical strength and posture improved. Just by shifting their mindset back 2 decades.
Wow. Their internal view literally changed their physical state.
Or think about the hotel maids study.
Ah, the exercise one.
Yeah. One group was simply told that their daily work, cleaning rooms, actually met the Surgeon General's criteria for an active lifestyle. The other group wasn't told anything.
And the group that thought of their work as exercise.
They actually lost weight, their blood pressure improved, cholesterol dropped, even though they weren't doing any more physical activity than before.
So just changing their mental construction of the work they were already doing changed the physical outcome.
It's profound. It shows how much our perception shapes reality and why, the language we use is so important.
Thinking of something as a deadline versus maybe a finish line.
Or focusing on the value in the process, not just the end goal. The means versus the ends.
It also ties into believing in your own abilities, doesn't it?
Huge connection. That's stereotype susceptibility study. After Obama's election, African-American students' test scores jumped significantly.
Just because seeing him succeed shifted their internal belief about what was possible for them.
Seems like it. It boosted their performance almost immediately, which connects right into Carol Dweck's work.
Fixed versus growth mindset.
Yeah. Believing your abilities aren't fixed, that you can develop them through effort. The growth mindset that makes you way more likely to tackle challenges, persist, and reach your potential.
Like those students in Hong Kong who took an extra English class because they believed they could improve.
It's not about denying natural talent, but recognizing that your belief in your own capacity for growth is maybe the most critical factor.
There's another really cool concept in this section, work orientations, from Amy Rosniewski's research.
Yeah, whether you see your work as just a job, a paycheck, or a career, a path for advancement, or a calling.
A calling being. Work that feels intrinsically meaningful, uses your strengths, contributes something.
Exactly. And the key finding was that people in any job, literally any job, could view it as a calling, from doctors to hospital janitors.
And those who saw it as a calling were just more engaged, found more meaning.
Yep. Worked harder, more satisfied, regardless of the actual tasks. It's about the mindset you bring.
So reframing your job, like thinking about the impact it has on others, that can help find that calling orientation.
Definitely. Like Chip Conley asking his hotel staff, what would a guest call your job title based on the value you provide? That connects even mundane tasks to a bigger purpose. Boosts dedication, improves results.
It really highlights the power of framing. Achor tells that story about the executive trying to motivate his team with just money.
Oh yeah, the "we're not saving the dolphins here" line.
Instantly suck the energy out of the room, right? Turn to potential calling right back into just a Joe.
Yeah.
Performance potential just gone.
And it's not just your own mindset. Your expectations influence others too. The Pygmalion effect.
Rosenthal's study with the teachers and the academic superstars.
Exactly. Teachers believed certain randomly chosen kids were destined to bloom, and they did. The teacher's belief, even unspoken, helped unlock that potential.
Same thing applies at work. With colleagues or employees, believing in their potential helps them reach it.
So the big picture here is, reality is flexible. It's massively shaped by how you choose to see it, by your mental construction.
And changing that perspective, using your mindset as that fulcrum and lever, it can genuinely improve your results and even lift up the people around you.
It's powerful stuff. Achor points out that our external world, our circumstances, only predict about 10% of our long-term happiness.
Only 10%, so the other 90%
is down to how your brain processes the world. Happiness isn't something you just find out there. It's something you actively build, you construct.
Okay, constructing reality. That leads really nicely into the next principle, the Tetris effect.
Yeah, this one's fascinating. It's named after, playing Tetris.
Right, if you play it for hours, you start seeing Tetris shapes everywhere, like in the real world.
Exactly. Stacking boxes at the grocery store, patterns on buildings. Your brain gets wired to see that pattern. It creates these cognitive afterimages.
Like the author playing Grand Theft Auto and almost trying to steal a car afterwards. Habitual pattern recognition.
Precisely. And Achor uses this to talk about how our brains get trained to perceive the world more generally. He talks about a negative Tetris effect.
Okay, so that's when your brain gets trained to see the negative patterns.
Yeah, think about tax auditors. Their job is to scan for errors all day long.
And that pattern spills over.
It can, yeah. They start scanning for flaws everywhere, in performance reviews, in relationships. Achor mentions one extreme case of a guy keeping an Excel sheet of his wife's mistakes.
Yikes. Okay, so that's obviously not good.
No. This constant scanning for the negative, it actually hurts you. It limits creativity, jacks up stress, kills motivation, makes you more prone to depression. It's genuinely detrimental.
But there's a positive version too, a positive Tetris effect.
Thankfully, yes. You can consciously retrain your brain to stand for the good stuff, to look for possibilities, for what's working, for opportunities.
William James' quote comes in here, right? My experience is what I agree to attend to.
That's the one. Our brain acts like a spam filter, basically. It filters out almost everything. What you choose to focus on determines what actually gets through.
Like the gorilla study. Inattentional blindness.
Perfect example. You're so focused on counting basketball passes, you completely miss a person in a gorilla suit walking right through the middle of the scene. Your focus dictates your perception.
So if we train our brain's filter to look for positives, for opportunities, that's what we'll start seeing more of.
That's the idea. And the key practice Achor recommends for this is super simple. It's called the 3 good things exercise.
Okay, how does that work?
Takes literally 5 minutes a day. At the end of your day, just write down 3 things that went well in the last 24 hours. Can be tiny things.
And you also reflect on why they happened.
Yeah, briefly. Like what caused this good thing? It forces your brain to actively scan your day for positives you might otherwise overlook. Little wins, moments of gratitude, connections.
It sounds almost too simple.
But the research shows doing it consistently actually rewires your brain. It gets better at noticing the good stuff, spotting opportunities for growth. And because your attention is limited, focusing on the good helps kind of crowd out the minor irritations.
People find different ways to make it a habit, right? Like phone reminders, journaling.
Yeah, or sharing them. Like at the dinner table with family, Achor mentions some CEOs who did it with their kids.
And the kids held them accountable.
Exactly. Makes the habit stick.
And the real benefit isn't just feeling a bit happier, is it? It's about opening your mind.
Right. It opens you up to ideas, opportunities, solutions you might have completely missed before because your brain simply wasn't scanning for them. Like walking past a $250 opportunity because you weren't looking.
So the big takeaway is, you can consciously train your brain's filter, focus on the positive, and you reap tangible benefits in performance, creativity, well-being. You change what you notice.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we've talked about training our minds to see the positive. But what about when things go wrong? When we face actual adversity? That brings us to principle #4, falling up.
Right. This one is all about how we respond to setbacks, to crises. Our brain has these mental maps for navigating life, and adversity really tests those maps.
Achor talks about 3 paths people tend to take after a setback. There's circling, staying stuck.
Right, no change. Or the negative path, ending up worse off.
But then there's the third path.
The third path, where you actually emerge from the struggle stronger, more capable, more resilient than before.
And this isn't just wishful thinking. Psychologists call it post-traumatic growth.
Exactly. It's empirically documented. Studies on survivors of major traumas like the Madrid train bombings or breast cancer patients show that deep suffering can be a catalyst for really significant positive change.
Things like deeper relationships, more resilience, greater appreciation for life.
All sorts of positive outcomes. And you see it anecdotally too, right? In the stories of super successful people.
Michael Jordan cut from his team. Walt Disney fired for lacking creativity.
The Beatles rejected. Thomas Edison failing thousands of times. These weren't endpoints, they were springboards. Some VCs even prefer founders who've had a business fail before.
Because they see it as valuable learning. Accelerated growth through guided error.
Precisely. Failure can be incredibly instructive if you approach it right.
So if this third path is real, why do so many of us get stuck or end up worse off?
Often it's because we get trapped in the perceived helplessness of the situation. We can't see a way forward, can't imagine growth coming from the pain, like those executives Achor described after the 2008 crash news. Just paralyzed.
That connects to learned helplessness, doesn't it? Martin Seligman's work.
Absolutely foundational. The classic dog experiments. When the dogs learned they couldn't escape the shocks, they just gave up, even when escape later became possible.
They learn to be helpless.
And humans do it too. We experience failure or uncontrollable stress, and we internalize that why bother feeling, like the study with the loud noise in the cubicles. People stop trying the button, even if it might work later.
But Seligman also developed the antidote, right? Learned optimism.
Yes. And this is crucial. It's all about how you explain adversity to yourself, your explanatory style.
So optimistic style versus pessimistic style.
Right. Optimistic style sees bad events as specific, temporary setbacks. Okay, this situation is tough, but it's not everything, and it won't last forever.
Whereas the pessimistic style sees them as global and permanent.
Yeah. Everything's ruined, it's all my fault, and it's never going to get better. That leads straight to helplessness.
While the optimistic style leads to persistence, looking for solutions.
Exactly. And Seligman's work training Met life insurance agents proved it.
Oh, the results there were amazing work.
Huge. Agents trained in learned optimism outsold the pessimists by a massive margin, sometimes up to 88% more, and they were way less likely to quit.
So this training didn't just help individuals feel better, it boosted the company's bottom line, reduced turnover, increased market share.
It's powerful. So how do we actually cultivate this? How do we find that third path?
Okay, one technique is changing your counterfact. What's a counterfact?
It's the alternate scenario our brain invents to make sense of something that happened, like the example of getting shot in the arm during a bank robbery.
Right. Whether you feel lucky or unlucky depends entirely on the what-if scenario you compare it to.
Exactly. What if I hadn't been shot at all? Unlucky. Versus what if I didn't shot in the head?
Yeah.
Incredibly lucky.
And since you invent that comparison point,
You can consciously choose one that empowers you. Select a counterfact that makes you feel fortunate, grateful, capable. That fuels motivation. Dwelling on negative counterfacts makes obstacles seem bigger, like in that study where a hill looks steeper.
okay, so choose your comparisons wisely. What else?
Work on actively changing your explanatory style, shifting from that pessimistic, it's permanent, pervasive, personal, to an optimistic, it's temporary, specific, external way of explaining setbacks.
And there's a model for that. The ABCDs.
Yeah. A is adversity, the event. B is belief, your interpretation. C is consequence, how you feel and act. And DD is disputation.
Disputation, challenging those negative beliefs.
Exactly. Question them. Argue with them. Look for evidence against them. Are there alternative explanations? What's a more constructive way to react?
It takes conscious effort, but it taps into something fundamental, human resilience.
Totally. Like Achor notes, people who experience paralyzing injuries often return to similar happiness levels after adjusting. We consistently overestimate how bad things will be and how long the unhappiness will last.
So the big takeaway for falling up. Adversity happens, but your interpretation is key. You can choose helplessness, or you can actively look for the third path of growth by managing your counterfacts and explanatory style.
You have more control over your response than you think.
Now, given how easy it is to feel overwhelmed by big problems, the next principle offers a really practical strategy. The Zorro circle.
I love this analogy. Zorro's master draws a small circle on the ground.
And tells him, master this circle first. Focus all your energy here.
Right. When you feel overwhelmed by the sheer size of a challenge, you shrink your focus. Concentrate on one small, manageable area where you can exert control.
Achieve success there, build confidence.
And then gradually expand your circle outwards. It's about regaining a sense of control.
And that feeling of control is incredibly important, isn't it?
Hugely. Research consistently shows that feeling like you have control at work predicts greater satisfaction in your job, family, life overall. It lowers stress, reduces turnover.
And the fascinating part is, it's less about the actual control you have.
And more about the control you perceive you have. Your locus of control. Internal locus believing you influence outcomes is strongly linked to success. External locus believing outside forces rule less so.
Feeling out of control triggers the stress response, right? The emotional brain takes over.
Yeah, Achor calls it the jerk. The limbic system, fight or flight, hijacking the rational thinker, the prefrontal cortex. The Zorro circle helps calm the jerk by giving the thinker a manageable problem to solve.
The examples really bring it to life, like the busy VP wanting to run a marathon.
Yeah, trying to jump straight into long runs was overwhelming, led to failure. The Zorro circle would have been something small and controllable, like just doing laps consistently, building from there.
Or the other VP, totally snowed under by work and her team's bad writing.
She couldn't fix everything at once, so she drew her circle around the one thing she could control, improving her own writing first.
And that had a ripple effect.
Exactly. Her improvement influenced her team, then other departments. Her small circle of control gradually expanded her influence and contribution.
The firefighter training maze is another great visual. Chaos leads to panic, crawling in circles.
Until they focus on the one controllable action. Find the wall. Crawl along the wall. That small circle of control provides the way out of the overwhelming maze.
It's about finding that anchor point when everything feels broken. Like the executive with 1,400 emails. Daunting.
Seems impossible. But the Zorro circle approach says, start somewhere small. Deal with just today's urgent emails or just emails from your boss. One manageable piece.
It reminds me of the broken windows theory in New York City.
Yeah, cleaning up graffiti, fixing windows on just one subway car. Those small visible signs of order and control led to much larger improvements, like reduced crime across the whole system.
Small wins build momentum.
Absolutely. So the takeaway is, don't try to conquer Mount Everest in one leap. Find your small circle, master it, build confidence, and expand from there. Small successes accumulate into major achievements.
Okay, so focusing energy deliberately is key. That leads us into principle #6, the 20-second rule.
Right. This one starts from the idea that humans are creatures of habit. William James again. Mere bundles of habits. Our daily routines often follow the path of least resistance.
And trying to change those habits just using willpower often doesn't work.
It's tough. Achor argues willpower is like a muscle. It gets tired. It's a finite resource. Roy Baumeister's cookie study.
Resisting the cookies drained their willpower, so they gave up faster on a later unrelated puzzle.
Exactly. We use willpower all day for small things. So when it comes to making a big change, like starting a new positive habit, relying only on willpower often leads to failure because the easy path, the old habit, is right there.
Like Achor trying to play guitar again. It failed initially because he had to force himself each time.
The activation energy was too high. And there's this paradox, right? Doing nothing is easiest.
But we actually find free time less enjoyable than work sometimes. Passive leisure.
Yeah, watching TV, scrolling feeds. After about 30 minutes, it leads to psychic entropy, that kind of listless, bored feeling. Active leisure hobbies, sports, learning is way more engaging and rewarding.
Yet we default to passive leisure because it takes less effort to start, less activation energy.
Precisely. And the world is designed to exploit this. Default settings on phones, product placement in stores, website designs, they all use the path of least resistance against us.
So the 20-second rule flips this. Use the path of least resistance for us.
Exactly. It's about reducing the activation energy, that initial hump of effort for the positive habits you want to build. Make them just 20 seconds easier to start.
And conversely, make the negative habits 20 seconds harder to start. Increase their activation energy.
Like Achor's TV remote example.
Putting the batteries in a drawer 20 seconds away.
Just that tiny bit of friction, it was enough to break the mindless habit. Suddenly, picking up the guitar or a book became the path of least resistance compared to getting up, finding batteries, putting them in.
And he gained, 3 hours back in his day.
Yeah, huge difference from a tiny change. Or Ted, the executive overwhelmed by email and online distractions.
He made it harder to access them. Disabled auto logins, removed shortcuts.
Added just a few extra clicks, a few extra seconds of activation energy for the distractions. Annoying at first, maybe, but it shifted his default behavior towards productive work.
And the classic one, sleeping in your gym clothes for morning exercise.
Perfect example. Eliminates decisions. What should I wear? Drastically lowers the activation energy, makes rolling out of bed and getting going the easiest option.
Once the habit's built, maybe you don't need the trick, but it gets you over that initial hurdle.
That's the key. So the big idea here, stop fighting yourself with limited willpower. Instead, strategically design your environment. Make good habits ridiculously easy to start and bad habits slightly harder. Engineer the path of least resistance to lead where you actually want to go.
Brilliant. Okay, that brings us to the final principle, which feels like it connects everything. Principle, #7. Social investment.
Yeah, this one emphasizes something absolutely critical, especially under stress. Investing in your social support network. Friends, family, colleagues.
Successful, resilient people don't isolate themselves when things get tough. They lean into their connections.
Right. Remember the firefighter maze? They got lost when alone, rescued by others. Our instinct might lead to withdraw during crisis, but that's often the worst thing we can do. Cutting off social ties actually harms our performance and well-being.
And there's a deep biological need for this connection, isn't there?
Oh, absolutely. Lack of social connection isn't just sad, it's physically dangerous. Research shows it can raise blood pressure significantly, make you far more likely to suffer depression. John Cacioppo's work suggests it can be as detrimental as smoking or obesity.
Wow. And even small connections help,
Yeah.
like holding a loved one's hand during stress.
Studies show it literally reduces the brain's pain and stress response. We are fundamentally wired for connection. We need our raft mates, as Achor puts it, especially when the waters get rough.
And this social capital, these connections, they act as a buffer against stress, especially at work.
Definitely. Positive interactions with colleagues help you recover physically and psychologically from job strain, lower cortisol, even make you perceive stressful situations as less threatening.
So it's a competitive advantage. Better stress management means lower healthcare costs, less time off.
And higher individual performance. Better physiological resourcefulness. That AT&T layoff example is powerful teams with strong internal bonds were basically immune to the surrounding chaos and stress.
Like a good NFL offensive line.
Right.
Protecting the quarterback.
Great analogy. They might not be the stars, but the whole team relies on their cohesion. Strong relationships in an organization protect everyone and enable success.
The comparison between the two Harvard students, Amanda and Brittany, really highlighted this.
Yeah, Amanda isolated herself and struggled immensely. Brittany actively built and relied on her social network, study groups, friends, and navigated the challenges much more effectively.
And studies confirm this at the team level too. How people feel about each other predicts team success.
Strongly. A study of 350 employees found it was the biggest predictor. So managers have a huge role in fostering positive interactions and rapport.
Companies that get this, like Southwest or Domino's with their employee support funds, they build incredible loyalty and commitment.
They invest in their social capital. And according to Gallup research that Achor cites, the single most important social bond at work.
The boss-employee relationship. The vertical couple.
That's the one. It's the number one predictor of productivity and how long someone stays in a job. Poor supervisor relationships cost U.S. companies hundreds of billions a year.
Conversely, feeling like your boss genuinely cares about you is huge for engagement and retention. These relationships are appreciating assets.
Absolutely. And you need to reinvest in them. Simple things matter. Making eye contact when greeting people, asking genuine questions about their lives, choosing face-to-face when possible, learning about interests outside work.
And that old idea, MBWA, managing back by walking around.
Still relevant. Just being visible, connecting informally, like the former UPS CEO did. It takes effort. It's about giving back, building trust.
Leaders can actively foster this, right? Introducing new hires properly, encouraging connections across departments.
Yeah, making relationship building an intentional part of the culture, with HR support too.
So the crucial takeaway for social investment. Your connections are vital assets. For resilience, performance, well-being, invest in them actively. Smart leaders make it a priority.
And when you put all these principles together, when you work on your own happiness and resilience, it doesn't just stop with you, it creates the ripple effect.
The idea that your positivity is contagious.
Exactly. Your mindset, your emotions, your behaviors, they spread to the people around you.
Partly because of mirror neurons in our brains.
Yeah, those specialized cells that automatically mimic the feelings and actions of others. Why you might wince when someone else gets hurt, or why yawning is contagious, or why babies copy facial expressions.
So we literally catch emotions from each other. Positive emotional contagion.
We do. We subconsciously mimic positive body language, tone, expressions, and that mimicry actually makes us feel the emotion ourselves. It's the science behind fake it till you make it, in a way. Smiling really can make you feel happier.
And this has a real impact on teams.
Huge impact. That study by Staw, Sutton, and Peld, teams with just one person consistently sparking positivity. They had less conflict, more cooperation, better overall performance. One person can lift the whole group.
So it all ties together. By applying these 7 principles yourself, boosting your happiness advantage, leveraging your mindset, training positive focus, following up, using Zorro circles, the 20-second rule, investing socially.
Your improved state becomes contagious. Just being around you makes a difference. Your personal practice influences group dynamics, team performance, everything.
The ripple spreads outwards. Investing in your own happiness helps everyone around you.
It reframes self-care and personal growth not as selfish, but as a contribution to the collective.
Okay, so wrapping up this deep dive, the core message from Shawn Achor, backed by a lot of science, is really clear, isn't it?
It really is. Happiness doesn't follow success. Happiness comes first. It's the engine, not the reward at the end.
And the 7 principles we've walked through, the happiness advantage, fulcrum and lever, Tetris effect, falling up, Zorro circle, 20-second rule, social investment.
They provide a really practical, evidence-based toolkit for actively cultivating that happiness.
And, crucially, for using that positive state to fuel better performance, more resilience, greater success in whatever you do.
Yeah.
These aren't just nice ideas. They're actionable strategies for getting a genuine edge.
Exactly. And maybe here's a final thought to leave you with, something that really pulls these ideas together from the book.
Okay.
Given everything we've talked about, the incredible power of your mindset to shape reality, the natural resilience we all have, the fact that opportunities are always there if we train ourselves to see them.
How might consciously training your own brain, deliberately focusing on seeing more of the good, fundamentally change not just your path, but maybe also create positive ripples that change the paths of everyone around you?